a governor a less important position than ambassador? Who's more senior? Who's a state officer? Who's a public officer? Because if someone can run for governor with dual citizenship, then why can't we have an ambassador with dual citizenship? That's my simple question.
Ben, let us stop there for a minute. Even as we listen to Rose, there is something that you must tell and teach Bichachi. There is a difference under Article 260 of the Constitution between a public officer and a state officer, and the Constitution has gone further to define who a state officer is.
Yes,
Bichachi cannot use the two interchangeably and as if they are the same. He must come back to class and be taught something on what they are used. A state officer is shielded from some things, but a public officer, which an ambassador falls under that category because they are employees of the national government, cannot do some things.
I think.
So question: how many CSs? How many CSs have dual citizenship?
But those are state officers. Ben,
allow me. I think he needs to read the Constitution.
We cannot be appointed the same way.
No, we cannot legislate about the church's ignorance on national TV.
Ben, classroom. I think Bichachi, you need to read the Constitution and understand.
Which I have, by the way.
The category of who is a state officer and who is a public officer. And don't just read it selectively. Read it also with the Ethics, Leadership and Integrity Act, and understand what are the roles and what is allowed of a public officer and what is allowed of a state officer. In this case, an ambassador is an appointee of the president.
Yes.
And we said he is representing the country,
Yes.
the country interest.
Yes.
Now, and we have seen African heads of state who are not only citizens of those countries, but also citizens of the US or of UK. And when they go for UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, you go with the passport of your country. You don't go as a citizen of the other acquired country. Now, in this case, when Mwenda Mbizi goes to South Korea, she's going to represent the interests of the Kenyan government, the people of Kenya. Now, let's say, God forbid, an incident happens in South Korea, and Trump has an interest, or the US has an interest, at the same time Kenya has an interest. In obvious reasons, where will you expect him, or if Trump says, leave this country now? Will she say that I'm not leaving because I'm waiting for Kenyan government to tell me what to do? And here she is holding the citizenship of the US.
But guys,
allow me to make my contribution.
This is.
Let me let lecturer Dismas Mufwaya educate you, then you can respond.
Why is everyone thinking they're educating me?
I don't know common things.
Okay, but my contribution is going to be anchored. First of all, we start from chapter 6. Then we go to Article 132, which allows the president to appoint somebody as an ambassador or high commissioner. And then we go to Article 260. Number one, anybody who flies the flag of Kenya, either as a cabinet secretary or as an ambassador or anything, you fly the flag of Kenya, you cannot afford to have dual nationalism. No way. The Article 260 is not very clear that you need to be, that if you're an ambassador or high commissioner, you don't need to be, to enjoy dual nationalism. But you see, the person who is appointing you to that position, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, cannot enjoy dual nationalism. So there's no way, as a personal representative of the president, you will go to Seoul, Korea, and you've got you are not sure whether you are a Kenyan, you are not sure whether you are an American. And this is the crisis we have in Kenya. Assuming there's a Kenyan who has got a Ugandan passport, and he is sent by President Kenyatta to go negotiate a Migingo. When he goes to Kampala, is he negotiating as a Kenyan or is he negotiating as a Ugandan? You know, we have this crisis, the maritime crisis with Somali. Some of the people we are told who misled Nairobi enjoy that kind of loyalty. They're in Kenya, but when they go to negotiate, their loyalty is to Somali. So there is no way, as a nation, we can ever allow somebody with dual nationalism to represent Kenya. Let's wind up on this. As you make your submissions, remember the Kenyan embassy in Seoul, South Korea, is Kenyan soil.
Yes. Yes. Now, let's be clear, and I agree with Dismas's interpretation of the Constitution, that the Constitution is not clear on those things. And that's why I said, no, listen, everyone has read that thing.
Right.
So let's not pretend that it is completely clear that ambassador cannot. It is not written there. So let's not pretend to the Kenyan public by saying 232 what, that it is explicit there.
No, but the question is,
let me finish. And this is my statement to my country and my nation. Number one, are we the kind of people who will say that if my wife and child travel to America because she has a special condition and my child is delivered in America, that child, because they will automatically have American citizenship, that they will not ever hold such an office in this country?
They will, if they renounce the American citizenship.
That's the question. Must they do that? Because, for example, let's ask the question, what if Mwende Mwinzi has children in the United States? What if now she needs to apply for a visa to see her children? So let's not take these things and assume that just because someone has 2 passports, they have 2 allegiances. That is not necessarily true. And part of the reason you vet people, by the way, is you do not need to change citizenship to be a spy for another country. It is not necessary. There are people who are fully Kenyans who report to the embassy of the United States to get money to talk about revolutions in this country. They have solely Kenyan passports and they betray us every day. The people who are corrupt in this country, how many passports do they have? When the people are arrested for robbing and pillaging this country blind, is it because they have a Tanzanian passport?
Ben, you've allowed
Bichachi is taking
You're now digressing.
All right. Either way, she has to renounce her citizenship.
No, that's
citizenship.
that's what I'm saying.
Or she can take another job.
Then the question is,
there's another agenda here, even as you respond to that. There was a tweet by Miguna says, I was born in Kenya. Mwende Mwinzi was born in the USA. I went to school up to university and was exiled in 1988. Mwinzi went to school in the USA, worked and lived there most of her life. I fought for freedom. Mwinzi has been appointed ambassador. I've been forced into exile. Well, it can be dismissed as another rant, but does he have a point?
Yes.
And then I'll come to you.
Ben, what Miguna is saying, it is difficult to agree with Miguna, but I have to agree with him. When you talk about an ambassador, Ben, you cannot today, let's say Kenya is a country. When you are an ambassador of Kenya, you are going to represent Kenyans in Seoul. What are you going to represent if you have lived the entire of your life in the US? Are you going to represent the Kenyans in the US in there or where? The hard question must be asked. Secondly, when the Constitution has set out that the following people belong to this cadre, you cannot come and say it is not clear. When you read Article 260, where it talks about a state officer, it has ranked from number A to P who state officers are. We cannot say it is not clear where. The Constitution, when it says that A is red, you cannot say blue also ought to be B. No, the drafters and framers of the Constitution knew that an ambassador existed. Two, when it comes to suitability of Mwende Mwinzi, I know the lady, she's known to me, she's a wonderful person in person, but now when it comes to talking about her legality to hold office, I know she has been approved, but the question of citizenship must be dealt with, because we cannot now allow her to become a state officer and in the real sense and the appointing letter she will be as public officer. Public officers must serve as public officers. And then again, as we read even Article 260 and the other 4 articles of the Constitution, there is something we call leadership and ethics. When you address yourself to Section 35, it deals with this issue where we are in now. Why are we tiptoeing around the matter? The Constitution has addressed it, so let us also deal with it.
Let's go through. Can we go through the list?
Let me address that. When you go through that Article 260, you read it from A to Z. Nowhere is the High Commissioner mentioned, or as ambassador, as a state officer. It's not mentioned. But that's been the case.
Not.
No. Wait a minute.
The list is here.
No, but wait. That's been that's been the case. We need to ask ourselves 2 questions. I wish this gentleman would remain silent. She was cleared to run on a Jubilee ticket as a member of the National Assembly, and she was going to be a state officer. So the question is, how was she cleared to run for a parliamentary seat? That's number one. Then the second question, how many more public servants of rank cabinet secretaries, judges, and magistrates hold dual citizenship. Can you imagine if Justice Magara has got a Ugandan passport or Tanzanian passport, and he sits at the Supreme Court and he's taking a decision?
So in my view, another indictment on the IEBC.
Yeah, in my view, President Kenyatta must order for an immediate audit of all public servants of rank to find out how many in fact are Kenyans and how many enjoy dual nationalism. Because can you imagine that if you're a member of the National Security Council, you are advising the president on critical security issues, and then you have 2 passports? If something happens in Kenya, you jump on Kenya Airways, you disappear to another country.
That's an audit that should happen.
Let's look at the list. State officers, the president, the deputy president, cabinet secretary, parliament, a member of parliament, judges. It's a long list, right? Magistrates and judges. Now, I can tell you for a fact, there are many members of parliament with dual citizenship.
Can you?
There are many people who were cleared for Miguna.
So two wrongs are going to make it right?
No. What I'm simply saying is we need to be careful as a country.
To make many wrongs are right.
No. We cannot choose that. Can I finish my statement? As you guys have talked.
They've refused. You can't.
Let's move on to something else. What is special about Mwende Mwinzi that suddenly you've remembered these issues?
No, you see
So what you're saying is that because there are some examples that we've seen,
some illegal examples,
the ones that we know,
some wrong examples.
In 2017,
we've established it's not illegal, and let's
It's illegal. Why are you perpetrating this?
The ambassadorship is not in this list of state officers.
Read Article 78. I've told you.
All right, don't punish us for your mistakes of not reading.
Yes, I've shown you.
Let's continue. She has to resign, to renounce her U.S. citizenship before she can be appointed to be an ambassador to the Republic of South Korea. Now, there's another Patrick Njoroge. We've talked about him a lot in the last 2 weeks. He has been reappointed as CBK governor. Very quickly, Dismas, what is your take on his last 4 years, next 4 years?
Well, in my view, what Njoroge was able to do was merely to maintain the status quo. Because when you talk about this date, as the principal advisor to the state, to the presidency, he should have done more. And then the one for KRA, I only wish that the president exercised Article 10 and Chapter 6 so that all these appointments reflect the face of Kenya.
All right. Mark?
The issue, I think, for me, that keeping the good gentleman, the Catholic, it's called Opus Dei practitioner in the central bank was a good idea, for the simple reason that you cannot be transitioning currency and then transitioning leadership at the same time. Number 2, he's one of those civil servants who has lived up to his billing. The hype that he would do a good job, the hype that he would tighten the reins, the hype that he would rein in all these errant banks. We've seen banks being charged for flaunting laws during his reign. We've seen tighter controls. We've seen even MPs being arrested for trying to do funny things there. So he's done a good job. So for 2 reasons. Number 1, you cannot be transitioning a currency and then transition leadership at the CBK. And number 2, the gentleman has actually lived up to the billing when he was given the job. So I do not see why he should be removed.
But Ben, give me a minute. When you talk about that you can't transition a currency and a leadership, a good leader is supposed to create systems so that whether or not he's around, the system works. And when you say that he's done a good job, what good job when people cannot afford a meal in Kenya?
Well, the truth is the central bank has been run correctly. The truth is that banks have not been running amok in this country. The truth is our inflation is not run away. It is within acceptable limits. The truth is the GDP has grown by 6%. So all of those facts bear that he's done a good job.
All right.
He's given very blanket statements.
Rosalind?
Yeah. But you've given a blanket.
Give it to him. He has done a good job. He has come with regulations that despite MPs protesting and all that, we've even seen now even investigating officers can actually track illegal money based on the deposits and withdrawals, which was never the case in the past. So for me, I think he has done a good job. Maybe the 4 years he will do better what he was not able to do in his first term. But let's see what it will happen.
Bonakili.
For the good Opus Dei, giving the job back to him was in order, if you ask me. There are several shortcomings that we have had at central bank and our financial system, but those are not to say that he has not succeeded in what he's doing.
Right.
At least he's the first person we have seen around reining reining in on rock banks in terms of several issues. And also, there are problems that he faced as he came to office. It was when we were doing the interest capping and all those.
All right.
And he was able to help us come out of that without hurting the economy. But when we address the issue of that gentleman of KRA, I think he's not worth the position. That is my taking, because KRA has not been meeting its target for the last I don't know how many years. And then again,
Talking about Mburu?
yes, Mburu.
All right.
And then again, you bring the same person within the same system to run it. What are you saying? You cannot, an old broom cannot sweep better than the one that was there before it.
All right.
knows all the
James
corners.
Gidi Mburu was the head of intelligence at the KRA. Now he has been appointed KRA Commissioner General, effective July 1st. Roslyn, what do you think?
I've heard some people talk about him coming in, not having the background of taxes and coming in as an accountant. And there was also issues being raised that when KRA was not able to meet targets, he was part and parcel of the team and he's been in the system. So I
Some
think
people are saying that he's been in charge of setting up a mechanism that have made traps that have caught a lot of people inside the KRA.
we know some.
Quick interjector. KRA is not DCI, where you go there to set system to arrest people. KRA is for collecting tax.
He's
Why
the
are
head
we-
of intelligence. It's a position that is there.
Actually, that position was created illegally. There is a case in court. But the issue is, KRA is there to collect revenue. What we should be talking about are people who have broadened the
Should
tax
have-
brackets.
Yeah, but that is what he was doing. So
He has
that-
even instilled fear among the staff, because you remember when they advertised for interns and they hired 2,000 interns only to turn out to be the ones who are being used as the intelligence officers to sell their colleagues. So I think he's coming in, he really has so much, his tray is so full, because first of all, the insiders say he was part of the downfall, why they were not able to meet targets. He's coming in when there is a division within KRA where people believe he was not rightfully brought in. So he has so much to do to turn around that institution. But we hope maybe with that, doubting Thomases are there, maybe this time around you might see KRA meeting its target.
All right, Mark Richard.
My view is very simple. So far, the president has led the country down a path of former spies and spy chiefs being put into certain offices. Now, if what Haji has done and what is happening at EACC is anything to go by, the president might actually be onto something, that the best way to fight corruption is to have someone with a nose of picking out information and investigating and things like that. That might be well what KRA needs. And if we are honest, that one of the most urgent needs at KRA is to seal those sort of deals that people have for people to do tax evasion and things like that. So the former spy chief is well connected. He has his ear to the ground. He has the capacity to investigate that organization. And if he is causing the status quo to be jittery, that is an advantage as well, because you do not want an institution that is underperforming to get a leader that it likes. That's not how you do. Even in high school basketball, you do not bring a coach that makes the players feel like, things are the same, because you must always bring someone who makes people feel like things will change. So for me, I'm with the president on this one.
This much.
There's no qualification in Kenya called Bachelor of Science Taxation. That is a subject only accountant study. And KRA has been run accountants. So when you look at Michael Waweru is an accountant, Jorena is an accountant, this one is an accountant. So what Kipchumba is talking about, collecting taxes, falls squarely within the docket of an accountant, having read taxation to great lengths. But the big challenge would be outside the Article 10 considerations, there are many other Kenyans who would have gotten that position. The fact that he's an insider and the fact that he set those traps to nab people who do not want to pay taxes, in my view, is an added advantage. He will be able to hit the ground running. And also the fact that a number of his colleagues fear him, that's even better. It means that he will create systems which will be bulletproof. But at the end of the day, right now, we can break into a dance and saying that you used to work for the intelligence, he's a solid guy. The next financial year, we look at the scoreboard and see the numbers and find out what he's done.
Great. Thank you for staying with us here on Inside Politics. Let's take another quick commercial break. When we come back, we shall be giving you an opportunity to call in